I'm looking at tomato plants today, but I want container ones. We are putting some in ground, but we do need some in that container garden. And we also need to see how successfully we can grow tomato plants in small containers, regardless of what variety they are as well. Because you've got different types of tomato plant. You've got indeterminate, which will continue growing all the way through season. And then you've got determinate plants, which are your dwarf or bush varieties. So they only grow to a set height, flower, fruit, and then they're done. But what I want to do is take an indeterminate plant, which can grow up to 6 feet tall, and grow it in a small container and limit that growth to only 4 to 5 feet at most. And the only way you can do that is by topping tomato plants. So a few inches down from the very top of that main stem, you cut that off so it can't grow any taller. And then it should concentrate on side growth and make you a shorter but bushier plant. But also indeterminate plants, even though you cut the tops off, will still carry on trying to grow taller. It will slow it down, but it will still try and regrow that top. So all you need to do through season is keep taking that top away every time it gets a few more inches tall. At least that's the plan. Because on this channel we like to concentrate a lot on small space gardening. We've done the same thing with courgettes. We're going to be doing the exact same thing with cucumbers. And that's why we've got that 12 foot by 12 foot container garden area. And it's got a stone bottom, so every single thing has to be grown in containers. And if you've seen previous videos, you can see that that's doing quite well. So today it's time to move on to container tomato plants. I've been growing these ones in 2-litre containers. These are called Sweet Million, and they are an indeterminate tomato plant. These can grow up to 2 meters in height, and they're basically very high yielding plants that fill up with bunches of red cherry tomatoes. And you can see that even though it's only in a 2-litre pot, it's put on lots and lots of growth. And as it grows, we keep taking off these little side shoots. And the reason we're doing that is to encourage it to grow a little bit taller, rather than trying to grow loads and loads of branches, because then the plant gets out of control really quickly. So for the moment, we want to get some height to it. But since we're going to be doing these in containers as well, we don't want to encourage it to grow too high. So we'll get to a point where it reaches 4 to 5 feet. We'll cut the top off, and then we'll let the side shoots grow outwards. And we'll accommodate them with supports as we need to. So now this is getting on for 2 feet tall. It's time to move it into a container. And we're making sure there's some really nice, good sized drainage holes in bottom. Most containers come with really small holes in. So we make those a bit bigger and also add a few more. Because those bigger holes are going to be a lot better than the ones that it normally comes with. And because we've got these dibbers and they've got metal spikes on end, they're perfect for just pushing in and widening these holes. Also, when you're using plastic containers, make sure that your plastic containers are food safe. They will have a stamp on bottom to let you know that. And if you're not sure what stamp it needs to be, you can look that up on Google as well. So we've made lots of nice big holes in bottom of that, so we'll get some compost put in. And then I'm going to add a good amount of feed. Because one other thing about growing tomato plants in containers is that when you water them, the water seeps through, and that's going to take a certain amount of those nutrients with it. So you're going to have to keep feeding this plant every 10 to 14 days. And we'll take this plant out and have a look at roots, because it's only a 2-litre container and it is quite a big plant. And I don't think that that is too bad at all, considering it's a really big plant, but it's not overrun with roots. And when you're growing things in containers, that's a bonus. So I need to seat this plant just below surface of this rim. So I'm just going to make bit of an hole in it so we can sit it a bit lower. And at the same time we're mixing those nutrients into that compost. And I think there is going to be perfectly fine. We can straighten the plant up as we go. And once I'm happy with that position, I'll just fill around the base of that plant. And when I do this, I'll bury a little bit more of that stem as well, because that's going to promote root growth. So this very, very bottom leaf, if I turn that around, you can see we've got a leaf there right at the very bottom. And I'm taking that off, because that's going to allow me to bury this plant a little bit deeper. And I'm making sure I'm firming this compost down as well, because we need this plant to be stable. This one's already started to get flowers on top as well. No container garden would be complete without a tomato plant. So now we've firmed that down, we can get a little bit more around there. And then again, just firm it down. Just give yourself about an inch gap from the top of that container to the compost. That way water's not going to run straight off when you're watering it. And there we've got a really nice stocky little plant that we've sunk just a couple of inches deeper than it originally were. And that's going to grow quite happily in there. So all the side shoots that we've taken from the bottom will stop it from bushing out too much and let it grow up a little bit more. Once we get about halfway up this plant, I'm going to stop taking off those side shoots, because I want a nice big mass of flowers on top of this plant so we can get as many tomatoes off it as possible. Fortunately, once this plant does get to the height that we want, which is going to be 4.5 feet tall, it's going to be very unstable. So the first bit of wind that we get, and we do get a lot around here, this is very likely to get snapped, and then that plant's no good. So we've got to support this plant right from the start. And if you've seen previous videos, the best way to do that is with canes. You can buy tomato cages, but why spend money on things if you can make something yourself? Which is what we try and do a lot of on this channel. So we need some canes that's going to be suitable for the height that we want to grow this plant to. And we can put 4 in, and then we can fix them all together to make a nice, strong, solid support. So we'll just put those sticks in and make a frame. At the moment, these branches are almost touching the ends of these sticks, but we can use string and other things to help support once it's got to the height that we want, just to make it 100% secure. And then we'll just get this last one in. We've got a nice 4 cane frame, but we want to make it a little bit stronger. So what we're going to do is put some smaller sticks to hold these two together, and we'll use tie wraps because that's the strongest option. Oh, something like that, perfectly fine. We don't need them to be exactly the same size. The fact that this is wider than this frame is better because we've got extra to tie things onto. So we can just attach these little sticks now. So I'm going to start near the top. It's not going to look perfect, but as long as it does its job, that's all that matters. And we've not had to buy one of those expensive frames as well. So just keep working his way around. So we've built this basic homemade tomato cage, and of course as we carry on we can also put supports across the bottom, supports all the way up as this plant grows and needs it. Because we've got the strongest part of the support at the top, and this base can't go anywhere because it's wedged into the bottom of that container. If we wanted to now, we could just put string around, and then we can attach the branches to that string as it grows up. And then once it reaches the top of this cage where we've made his mark, we'll cut that top off and force it to grow outwards rather than upwards for the rest of the season, and see just how many fruits we can get from it. That's my version of an homemade tomato cage. And if this plant gets a little bit wider through season, you can always put extra canes in between the ones we've put in and set them at angles to widen that support. So it's going to be an interesting experiment, considering this is a sweet million plant that should grow to 2 meters. But if we can successfully restrict that plant's growth, not only does that stem get thicker and stronger, but it puts out more side shoots to make more tomatoes. And this is something that you could just have on your patio and just keep getting yourselves really nice harvests of sweet cherry tomatoes all through season. But apart from this one, we're also going to do other ones. We have got some Italian plum tomato plants, and we're going to do the same thing with those. We're not just going to do one tomato plant in that container garden because they're taking no space up. And those Italian plum tomatoes only grow to 150 centimetres in height, which is about 4.5 feet. So they will be perfect for one of these setups. And just to stabilise this plant straight from start, we'll just tie a bit of string around here. We'll loosely wrap it around that centre stem and then tie it off on the other side. And same going the other way, all the way up this framework. So that plant won't be able to move at all. Its only job between now and its first frost is to provide us with lots of free fruit. So if you are a small space gardener, or you've only got a balcony, as long as it's getting sunlight, you can do one of these. Thank you very much to everybody that continues to support this channel. It really is very much appreciated. And if you're interested in seeing what other things we're going to be putting in containers as we go through the next few weeks, please hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.